Game Management Areas, GMA. By Dickrelly Education Center. Game Management Areas, GMA. Game management is a term that refers to the management of wildlife in the hunting context. The purpose of this type of management is to optimize the production of game on a territory in order to ensure the sustainable exploitation of game without disrupting the farming-forestry-hunting balance. Game Management Areas, GMAs, are areas surrounding national parks. They serve as buffer zones to national parks and are areas where both humans and animals are supposed to coexist. Game management is based on actions to create, maintain and restore natural habitats for game and wildlife to support the reproduction of species and prevent game from venturing out onto roads, into fields, or into cities. Reasonable hunting of individuals depending on population numbers and individual characteristics, sex, age, state of health. Feeding, implementation of game ranching and salt licks. Introduction or reintroduction of individuals and species to repopulate an environment or consolidate a population. Creation of game and wildlife reserves to support the reproduction and tranquility of wildlife. Establishment of game management areas in Zambia. Objectives of establishing GMAs in Zambia were to create buffer zones for national parks in order to reduce or eliminate human encroachment into national parks. They were also established in order to provide for a technically controlled and sustained culling scheme of animals through safari hunting. Safari hunting was to provide resource and revenue to promote conservation and community development project in the GMAs. Zambia's national parks and controlled hunting areas, CHAs, were reorganized into national parks and GMAs in 1972 when the National Parks and Wildlife Act of 1968 came into force. Subsequently, the National Parks and Wildlife Act of 1991 replaced the 1968 version, and in turn it was replaced by the Zambia Wildlife Act of 1998. Establishment of game management areas in Zambia. The Community-Based Natural Resource Management (CBNRM) program in Zambia evolved out of the Administrative Management Design (ADMADE) program financed by USAID in the 1990s. By 1997 the current community institutional structures were established. In this system, village action groups, VAGs, are composed of 5 to 10 elected representatives from a cluster of villages of populations of 500 to 1,000. Each VAG elects its representative to sit on the Community Resource Board, CRB. Each CRB consists of 9 to 10 members and elects a chairperson. An officer of ZAWA is assigned to the area under a CRB, as its unit leader. The revenue stream to CRB originates from ZAWA and is called Wildlife Conservation Revolving Funds, WCRF. Main game management areas in Zambia. Zambia has one of the largest protected areas in southern Africa. Two types of wildlife areas exist, national parks and the GMAs. These protected areas for wildlife cover a total of 23 million hectares, representing an estimated 30% of the country's total area. The wildlife estate comprises 19 national parks and 34 GMAs. National parks cover 6.4 million hectares, representing 8.4% of the total land area, while GMAs cover 16.6 million hectares accounting for 22% of the total land area, GRZ, 1994. Zambia's protected areas for wildlife date back to the colonial era. In the quest to protect wildlife, the British colonial administration introduced the Game Ordinance in 1925. The Game Ordinance was the forerunner of the many other wildlife legislations that provided for the creation of game reserves, National Parks and Controlled Hunting Areas, Dodds and Patson, 1968. The Game Management Declaration Order of 1971 provided for the creation of a new category of protected area, namely, the GMA, originally called Controlled Hunting Area during the colonial period. GMAs started as controlled hunting areas in the 50s. The 1972 National Parks and Wildlife Act later declared them GMAs. This followed a realization that the existing laws had precluded large areas of land to human habitation, in favor of game. This led to hostility and misuse of the national parks by villagers around them and those who had been evicted from the national parks and the GMAs. The idea of human beings coexisting with wild game became pronounced with the introduction of GMAs. After all, they have always lived together from time immemorial. Pope, 1995. It was also believed that rural dwellers in GMAs, if they appreciated the 13 value of wildlife, would look after it for future benefits. Controlled cropping would be used to generate tangible benefits to the communities in GMAs once done at sustainable levels, taking in account its value. Need to control wildlife population in the GMA. In GMAs, the Wildlife Act provided for the establishment of Community Resource Boards, CRBs, as the institutions through which communities could work with ZWA. CRBs co-manage wildlife in GMAs with ZWA and receive a share of revenues from trophy hunting. From that income, CRBs are required to recruit village scouts to assist ZWA with law enforcement. Chemonix International Inc., 2011. These village scouts are appointed by village action groups, 3 to 10 of which are developed per chiefdom, which fall under CRBs. Wildlife-based land uses have significant potential to improve livelihoods for communities in GMAs, and similar open areas. Threats to wildlife. Inappropriate grazing and fire regimes. Grazing pressure from domestic stock and introduced animals, such as rabbits, can have a negative impact on habitat of native animals. Changes in the frequency and intensity of fire can cause wildlife populations to decline. Invasive plants and animals. The global movement of goods and people are directly contributing to the introduction of plants and animals to areas where they do not naturally occur. These species taken to new environments may fail to survive, but some thrive and become invasive. Invasive species include animals, plants, introduced marine pests, diseases, fungi and parasites. Invasive animals. While some impacts have been well documented, the true impact of invasive animals on environment is unknown and difficult to quantify. Invasive species such as foxes and feral cats prey on native fauna and have been implicated in the decline or extinction of at least 17 native species. Diseases, fungi and parasites. Diseases, fungi and parasites can reduce the ability of native plant and animal species to reproduce or survive. Due to their reduced or restricted populations and the impacts of other threatening processes, threatened species can be particularly vulnerable to introduced diseases, fungi and parasites. Thanks for your attention. Kindly like and share our videos. Please don't forget to subscribe and press the notification bell to be the first to receive the next learning video. You may also give us a comment to suggest what topic you would like us to cover. See you later.